We're back.
Yay!
The 4 month interim period is over. There was some football over the summer. It wasn't important.
I mean, in many respects, summer has only just begun.
Yeah,
Because we're back.
because we're back.
Yeah.
We have major summer in mid-September.
And I have to say this now before the show starts. Happy birthday, Nan. Love you.
Happy birthday.
That's Jack.
Yeah. Hello. Yes, should have introduced in case.
They asked me about you a lot, actually.
Well, I'm all good. I've had a great summer, and I'm happy to be back talking about the biggest football news that is happening exclusively at the Emirates or the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah.
So I'm Jack, and the other voice you hear is Ollie.
Mm.
We still don't have Ben on Ben's radio show
Yeah.
because he has these other things to do.
You got no. Well, he says that. He says that.
He says that.
Yeah.
We can't prove it.
No.
So we're just basically, we did record a show over the summer that never made it to air.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
We recorded a World Cup group stage preview, or no,
Yeah.
review. I think we're like
Yeah.
one game into the World Cup.
It was really good. It was probably our best show.
Yeah, it was. It was like, you hear about, like the Beatles unreleased albums and stuff. Like one day
Exactly
that's
like
going to
that.
drop, and I've
Yeah.
accurately predicted Brazil to win the World Cup.
I mean, they play podcasts at clubs now.
Yeah.
That's how popular they've become.
Yeah, so next time you're in the club and you hear our intro music, just be prepared for 1 hour and 20 minutes of me getting World Cup predictions wrong.
Yeah, I can see it.
Vaguely recall saying France weren't that good.
To be fair, I had a flashback the other day to when we saw the England squad announced for the World Cup. I slaughtered it so badly. I was like, everyone's terrible. No one can pass or dribble.
But-
which was sort of fair, but yeah, I was very.
I had
wrong.
an even older flashback than that. Do you remember your first ever show when we brought you in? I accurately predicted how good Harry Maguire was.
Oh, did you say
We
was
had
the
a
best?
conversation about Harry Maguire.
Did I not like him? I thought I did like him.
No, neither of us were particularly negative, but now that he's the nation's sweetheart,
Yeah, he's
we can look back on that.
he also
favourably.
looks like you, which helps.
Yeah, just a quick statistic. I played 3 preseason games this summer and got called Harry Maguire 4 times
Wow.
by the opposition.
Yeah,
Yeah, just that's what happens if you're a centre back with a massive head these days.
we've missed playing football without you in the summer because now if we start on someone or foul someone, we don't feel safe. We think we might get chinned, whereas we're much less likely to get chinned. With Harry Maguire.
Yeah,
in
you
our
just
team.
send me out to take the beating for you.
Yeah, like I stand behind you while I shout insults at people, basically.
So we'll move on. We might have a talk about Harry Maguire, but basically we're going to be recapping the Premiership. First 5 games have taken place already, and Chelsea, I guess we should start with them there.
Yeah,
Can you ever call Chelsea top of the league a surprise? But they've been the surprise package so far. Like,
it's weird because I don't think they've actually played brilliantly yet, and they've still got a team that's entirely built around having like wing backs, but they no longer play with wing backs.
Yeah.
And Marcus Alonso, before you could sort of forgive how because he was a wing back you could forgive the defensive frailties, but now it's just like Chelsea just play with 2 centre backs basically.
well, quickly on Marcus Alonso, even though he's not the same system, he's 4 assists, joint top assist in the league.
Yeah,
So
that is impressive. I'm impressed.
So the big story with Chelsea is probably Hazard. 5 goals, 5 games. Sarri says he wants him to score 40 goals this season.
He should be able to.
Well, I mean,
like talent-wise, he really
if
should
he
be
keeps
able
that
to.
up, it'll be 38
And,
at this rate.
Yeah, I do like that Giroud has just become this sort of Benzema type figure.
No
this
goals, 3
selfless,
assists.
Yeah, and no, like Eden Hazard, he is like one of the most talented players in the world. I think his record goal scoring season is 17 goals. In fact, he's got that like 2 or 3 times, always 17. I don't think he's broke the 20 barrier at Chelsea anyway. And under Sarri, you look at someone like Dries Mertens, a sort of technical small winger. He's turned him into like a 35 goal a year player. And with Hazard, he's a much better player than Dries Mertens.
Well, Jamie Carragher said that he doesn't think he could score 40 goals at Chelsea, but he could score 40 at Man City or Liverpool. Do you think that's slightly unfair given that Chelsea are above both of those teams in the league at the minute?
Yeah, and he might not know as much about Maurizio Sarri. Like, coaching-wise, the football he plays is insanely attacking, and it's really, really good. And I look at Klopp and Guardiola. Tactically, they're so far ahead that I can't see just, like, a sort of competent tactician who's a good coach. Someone like Pochettino or even Unai Emery to a lesser extent. Guys who are just, their teams press, but they change up their system a lot. I feel like you need, like, a radical to actually sort of get past those two or match those two, and Sarri definitely is. And I think by the end of once they've got all the players they want next summer, I think Chelsea should actually be pushing.
So you think Chelsea is still, even though they're 5 games, 5 wins, you think that's more of a next season thing? Do you think it's still a sort of work in progress?
It's weird. I actually think they've got 3 world-class midfielders, and I'm not even joking. Like Kovacic, I wanted him at Arsenal desperately for years. Kante, you don't need to say anything about him.
Yeah.
And his technical ability now is insane. He's become like a number 8. He can dribble through teams now.
Yeah.
And Jorginho is like, he basically offers you all the sort of passing range of like, I don't know, someone like Granit Xhaka, but he can actually run, which is nice. And then you got Kovacic. The only problem is there's not a lot of end product there, goals-wise. When you've got 3 guys, you want 1 or 2 even. Someone like De Bruyne who can get in comfortably into double figures.
Yeah.
Kovacic, he always played at the base of midfield. They're now trying to convert into a box-to-box midfielder. Same with Kante this last 2 years. He's been sort of converted to a box-to-box player. Jorginho got goals from penalties, but I think if they get the sort of goal-scoring midfielder they need, and maybe a right back, because Azpilicueta I think he's an excellent defender, but at his age you want a quick right back, and possibly a centre forward next season.
Yeah, I think that's
top 4 to me would be a good season. Like Man City should win the league anyway.
Well, we'll come on to that.
I think they should.
You're not discounting, but you're saying Liverpool are still second best.
Starting 11, no, I actually don't see an enormous difference. Like, here's what I'd say about Man City. There's established world-class talent where you can't argue it because they've been doing it for years. Aguero, De Bruyne, Silva. You can't dispute those players being world-class. Someone like Benjamin Mendy, although he didn't play a lot last season, he looked to be world-class at Monaco. And this season, he's been insanely
Also
good.
got 4 assists.
Yeah, like he's been, absolutely outstanding this year. And whereas Liverpool, they got a few players who I'd say are all on the fringes of working class. Working class?
Yeah, I don't think any of them are working class.
Yeah, on the fringes of world class, Like Salah, even though he's only had 1 season, you have to include him as world class.
Van Dijk.
Yeah, I wouldn't have him yet as world class.
Okay,
I just think time-wise, he needs another year to cement that.
I've got a stat.
Yeah.
From the day Van Dijk signed for Liverpool, 1st of January 2018, no team in Europe's conceded less.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they had Karius in nets for most of that.
Wow.
So he's clearly, he's changed the team. Liverpool. This is league goals I'm going by. Liverpool conceded 16. Then the next list after that was Atletico Madrid and PSG, both conceded 18. So. Yeah,
I still couldn't call him world class yet. I've almost done it twice.
Yeah.
And no, I think he's excellent. I just think when you call a player world class, there has to be a time element. Like, let's say he had like some catastrophic dip in form for the next 6 months. I don't think it'd be fair for him to be remembered as a world-class player.
Yeah.
It's just a time thing, whereas Salah already... Alisson, he was probably the best goalie in Europe last season for Roma, with the exception of David De Gea, but obviously, technically-wise and footballing-wise, with the exception of that one mad mistake, he's, far better, ball player than David De Gea is.
So, with City then, they haven't lost yet, but they had that draw with Wolves, wasn't it, they drew with?
Yeah, they've looked a bit awkward when I've seen them. I know De Bruyne hasn't been there, but they looked really good at the weekend with Sane back in the team. And yeah, I still think they didn't really have the summer they wanted. Not that they needed loads of players. They probably only needed a younger guy than Fernandinho to take over the reins. Like, I know they wanted Jorginho. They actually wanted Jorginho and Kovacic. They got 9. Both of them went to the same club. Yeah, which sort of harks back to my point that they have. Chelsea's midfield isn't too balanced. Certainly, it's going forward. But they've had an odd start to the season. But I still expect, just due to the size of their squad, come the end of the year, they don't really have to pick their battles in a way that Liverpool do. Because if you look at Liverpool, their bench still isn't incredible.
No.
Shaqiri's excellent.
Yeah.
Sturridge, I guess. Yeah.
And one of Henderson and Wijnaldum will be on the bench.
Although Fabinho hasn't played, which is weird.
Yeah.
He's not even come off the bench yet. And he to me seems the missing piece because Milner's been excellent. And to me it's probably going to be Milner and Keita either side of Fabinho. And it's already clear Henderson is not going to be playing a huge amount this season. Certainly not as much.
Yeah. What do you think of the Riyad Mahrez signing for Man City? It's a bit of a strange one, I'd say. In that position, they're Not exactly dying for players.
Yeah, I guess one thing they're looking at his technical ability and vision, and saying one they're looking at David Silva as 32, who I know plays as like a sort of 8 or a 10. They might be thinking he could be moved centrally. Also, you've got to look at uh, I get that it seems sort of wasteful and greedy to have him, and it kind of is.
It does seem a lot like they've bought him so that like Liverpool couldn't or Chelsea couldn't.
Yeah, probably. I mean, and like Bernardo Silva last year was always their second choice wide man. He's not a wide player. He should be playing centrally. In fact, he should. At the weekend, he played where Silva plays.
Yeah.
And it really, really suited him. So I do get that. And if you look at it really, wingers wise, who is it? Sterling, Sane, and
Bernardo Silva.
But he's not really a winger.
Yeah, but I mean,
he can do it.
He's not really a winger, but he's still one of the best 5 wingers in the Premiership.
Yeah, I'd say so. Actually, no, I wouldn't say so. Not anymore. No. Because like you have to say Salah, Mane, Zaha, Hazard plays out wide.
I'd rather Bernardo Silva than Zaha.
Oh, Zaha is. I love Zaha. He's the player this season I've watched most and thought I really, really, really want them at Arsenal.
So should we ask the Zaha question? He's been the big story this week.
Yeah.
Should he be protected?
No player should be protected. The thing is, because he's their only like creative and goal scoring outlet, because Benteke doesn't work. He literally doesn't work. Yeah. He's going to get targeted. Like Chelsea had a problem for a few years with Hazard, where it was like he was their only really like mercurial creative player.
I mean, I think
he just get kicked.
Yeah, you could say they still have that problem with Hazard, though, when he just gets up and gets on with it, whereas Zaha always seems to get in the ref's face and make a fuss of it. Should he just, like, very Paul Merson to say, just, toughen up, but should he just toughen up or, accept that it's a part of the game?
I guess so. I do agree with him that it's bad these players, like, people should have been getting, like, sent off for some of the tackles that have happened to him, and he's right to be angry about that. And I actually think his comments weren't, some players get too emotional when they don't get a decision their way and they end up getting banned. They say the referee's like morally bankrupt and he should never be able to look at his kids again. Who does he think he is? And he just said like he doesn't really understand why these people aren't getting booked. And I do agree with him. But then a lot of this is just bias because I really like Wilfried Zaha.
Yeah, but he seemed to go a bit down the Mourinho route where he was suggesting it was like a personal thing rather than just bad refereeing or like, the standard referee in the league. He seemed to suggest that referees weren't believing him.
Yeah, I doubt. Yeah, maybe he went like maybe he's taken it too personally. A lot of it, I think on Match of the Day they said that should he take it as a compliment? The answer is probably. And if he played for a top 6 team, which I think form wise this last 6 months, he looks really ready for that.
Yeah,
And the thing is, that wouldn't happen at a top 6 team because like you can basically get away with man marking him. You can't do that to Man City. You can't man mark one of their players because they've got 4 or 5 others who can like devastate you. And I imagine like the contract he signed about a month ago, it was with like the papers reported, from leaks from like Palace that it was basically very much in the understanding that he will be leaving in the summer or January or whatever. It's he wants his move. He's 25. People say he didn't do well at Man United. He was a kid. And he got there, he got sent on loan. By the time he comes back, Ferguson's retired. Yeah. He's left with, David Moyes. And, options-wise, moving on from Palace, because I imagine that's some of the frustration. He's probably too good for Palace. And options-wise in the top 6, the only team we really don't have a winger is Arsenal.
Yeah, it is Arsenal.
And we have...
Spurs could do with them as well.
Yeah, I just think Spurs have no money at the moment. Yeah. Neither do we. We probably have to sell people. And, but we're probably his only 2 options, really. Tottenham and Arsenal. But neither of us have money at the moment.
Interesting stat. I don't know how much it influences the debate, but no one's been booked more for diving since 2015 in the Premiership than Wilfried Zaha.
As my Arsenal team is full of really lovely guys who just, who at the end of the game, they just, you see a tear in their eye rather than like anger. I don't mind. Like Nacho Monreal is just the snidest little player. He spends the whole time just bullying the linesman because he's literally next to him the whole time. Yeah. He fake cries when Finko gets on his nerves. He's like, I want more of that at Arsenal. I hate other players who do it, but Arsenal needs.
Oh yeah, Marco Arnautovic is my favorite player, and he is awful. But he's world class at what he does.
Yeah. No, as you know, I went to 2 West Ham games this season. 3 actually. 1 at the Emirates, 2 at not Upton Park. But he's just. I just loved him. And you could tell the fans loved him. Like they really, really loved him.
Last year, the last game of the season was also against Everton. Also won 3-1. He had made an amazing, like, so clever run. It was clean through on the net. And I think it was either Rice or Noble tried to play past him. It didn't reach him, and he literally turned around to the fans like a pantomime character. Like, did you see what I'm dealing with here?
Yeah. Shall we talk West Ham?
He's amazing. Let's talk West Ham. 1 win in 5 games. The second year in a row that they've lost all 4 games before the international break.
Wow,
which isn't a good stat.
Yeah,
but things did look to change.
What was different?
Formation was different. Yarmolenko started ahead of Snodgrass, scored twice.
Finally,
Rice started ahead of Sanchez, got man of the match.
Yeah.
So he made changes that fans have been calling for a while, and like it was obvious to see Sanchez doesn't look good enough. Wilshere didn't look good enough, and he's injured for 6 weeks anyway now.
Oh, is he?
It's ankle surgery today.
God.
So Wilshere's gonna Wilshere. Sanchez didn't look good enough. Snodgrass and Antonio were very like, you could tell they've been putting the team for their work rate, but their end product just wasn't there.
Oh, they were terrible. I noticed actually when I was sitting in your seat, the fans really do not like Robert Snodgrass.
No.
I'm not sure. Like, not even they don't dislike him as a person. It's just like, you know, he's just obviously not West Ham quality. And you've got like Lucas Perez, for instance, is a better player than him. He created more chances in the Liga than any player last year, bar Messi. You know, and he's on the bench to Robert Snodgrass.
Yeah.
And you know, Mikel Antonio, I actually really like him.
He used
Technically,
to be,
he's not
good at all.
No, but now that Arnautovic is in the team, he's the target man, but he can play, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas there's not much calling for Antonio anymore.
Yeah, Antonio is very much like a sprinter, and football's played over 90 minutes. See, for the first half hour of a game, like there's very few players as strong or as quick and just as direct as he is, but he fades so much. And when he fades, he gets lazy and he stops tracking back, and it leads to goals conceded.
Well, speaking of lazy and not tracking back, the funniest thing was like the final 30 minutes. The first West Ham game I went to this season, you had Wilshere and Noble, and neither of them are. I was about to say neither of them are industrious. They both tackle and work a lot, especially Noble. Actually, he looks fitter than Wilshere, which is terrifying. Yeah. You know, he's 6 odd years older than him, and like by the end of the game, they were just got completely overrun. And you know, Rice, I barely seen any of Rice. Like, do you think he's got one? Do you think Wilshere will even keep his place after seeing what you did at the weekend?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think he'll get back in that team.
And do you think Rice is right? Who was it at the weekend? Rice, Noble, and
Obiang,
Obiang,
who should be starting every game as well.
Yeah, because like, is he mobile? Is he like?
He's not mad quick. He's
over short distances. Can he sprint to the ball?
Yeah, he breaks up play. It seems to be. It's hard to kind of put a finger on it. So usually when it's that, it's just he's very intelligent. Yeah. He always seems to be in the right place to cut out a pass, and that was the big debate. Because he was a centre back last year, and it was like, will he be a centre back or will he be a defensive mid? Because he's been playing defensive mid for Ireland. And we can't. I don't want to talk about that. Situation.
Yeah,
but. He played defensive mid 3 times for Ireland, got man of the match all 3 times. Like, he's really good at it. And he did it again at the weekend. He just always seems to be in the right place at the right time, but he's not. He's going to score you maybe 3 goals a year. He's not going to get many assists, but
you don't want. You don't need that from defensive midfielder,
but the back 4 are going to love having him in front of him, especially because it's quite a young back 4 as well.
Yeah, having a defensive midfielder is always a good idea, which sounds obvious, but Arsenal haven't really done that for like 7 years.
But West Ham didn't either, and that's what changed this weekend. Like, they've been playing 4-2-4. Which is mad for West Ham. You can't do that.
Wilshere, Noble
as the 2, exactly. Yeah. So it's positive, but the next few games are Chelsea, United, City, Spurs. I think are 4 of the next 5 or 6. So it's going to be a tough run.
I mean, Spurs look a bit of a mess, although they are currently beating Inter Milan 1-0, and they're doing 5:30 games now.
Yeah,
I only found out.
No, I knew that, but I'd never considered it that Spurs were playing at the minute.
Yeah, and. So wait, who we got to move on to now?
Well, the big stories we haven't talked about: Arsenal, Watford, Bournemouth, I would say, and United.
Let's do Watford and Bournemouth because I've written them down.
Okay, well, you lead the way then.
Yeah, obviously the new Leicester thing died out after about a week. You know, that sort of tame match of the day, I'm a commentator joke.
Yeah.
Some people are saying they might do a Leicester. That's
Yeah.
died already. But they were better than United. I was watching the game. They were actually, for the first half, they were comfortably better, despite United's 2 goals in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And they ended the game much better. They have the weirdest formation in the world, but it suits them so perfectly. And Arsenal fans desperately want us to do this formation. It's like 4-2, and the 2 is 2 defensive midfielders, then another 2 attacking midfielders, and then 2 again, the 2 centre forwards. And
Yeah.
if you're a team who has no wingers, like Arsenal do, like Watford do, it makes perfect sense. And it shouldn't work at all. I don't really know where they get their width from. They're supposed to get it from their fullbacks, but their fullbacks aren't like world-class players or anything.
No.
They're not even that quick.
Well,
And,
my last assist stat of the day,
Holebas.
Holebas, 4 assists.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
those are the 3 at the top of the league: Holebas, Mendy, and Alonso.
For assists or just fullbacks assists?
No, all over.
Oh, wow,
And then
that's
it's
impressive.
then
yeah.
it's Giroud after that.
Yeah, because that's like the idea. Like the fullbacks have to like bomb down the pitch if you're playing like let's say like 4-4-2 diamond to stop me saying the number 2 like 6
Yeah.
times. And I was watching him play, and again I was watching Doucouré. He is so good. Like he is so good. He was linked with Liverpool and Arsenal this summer.
Yeah,
He's only 24, I think. I think he's not played for France yet, but he's been called up for a few times. He looks insanely good. And Watford impressed me, and I'm really annoyed that United have turned things around a bit. I thought just a little bit, and I don't think it's going to last, because I think there was like a professional pride thing that came in. Like, come
Yeah.
on, we're Man United. But I don't think that will last you this season or anything like that. Also, I did put a bet on Mourinho, and I never put on bets. This is like the only bet I put on.
okay.
Yeah, and it was basically, Mourinho to get sacked by the end of the season. And I did this like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I think it was the Chelsea United FA Cup final, and I just did it then because I had too much to drink, and I thought, yes, I'm now a man who gambles, and I haven't done that again. And but I'm hoping that things fall
Things
apart
go
again.
south.
Yeah. I want Mourinho to burn. Oh my God, did you see the clip of him falling?
No.
He's walking through the airport, and he tries to very coolly climb over like a barrier, the rope.
Yeah.
And he trips up and he drops his suitcase everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
and he like falls on his backside, and he tries to style up. He tries to style it out. He tries to walk off with a little turn and a spin off the ground. It is the best thing I've ever seen.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break while I watch that video. Because we kind of need one anyway. We've been talking for 26 minutes straight. When we come back, we still have Bournemouth to talk about. We'll give you a proper Arsenal section. Then there's a couple more. We need to talk about the bottom of the table.
That's true.
So we'll have a quick break, and then we can talk about that. So we're back.
Lucky you.
Planning the series for the year. Ollie has announced that we're going on a European road trip.
Yes.
All of this while both of us were contemplating whether we can afford enough pints to go watch Liverpool after this. So I don't know how we're going to pay to go to France, but
I think I have £11.90 in my account until Thursday, until student finance comes in. So tomorrow I'll just stay at home, do homely things, drink water all day, tea if I'm feeling adventurous, and basically whatever's in the cupboard, I'll live off that, and I'll be a little hermit.
And use the £11.90 for tickets to France.
I'll do that tonight.
And Ben, if you're listening, we've decided you're rich, you're renting us a car, and we're going to drive to Montpellier because they're my French team.
Jack, just for the purposes of a joke, has skipped past my discounted Eurostar tickets just so we can exploit Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, you're renting us a car. We're going to the French Riviera to
Can you
watch
drive?
Montpellier. Yeah.
Okay, can Ben drive?
No.
Can he
Right,
not?
so-
He strikes me as someone who can't drive.
Yeah.
I also can't drive.
No, because
but
you're from
that's-
London. What's
Yeah,
the point?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I can drive.
All right, you can drive. Ben, where do I come into this? You do the driving. He pays for the tickets.
It was your idea.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I am an ideas
And
man.
you get us the discount.
That's true. No, not if we're driving. Jack, honestly, Jack.
So
He's jet lagged from his long flight.
one team that isn't going on a European tour is Newcastle, 19th place.
Yeah, here's what I'll say about Newcastle. They are very boring. Like, they are very, very boring. We played them the other week, and it was just this weekend.
Yeah.
It was just excruciating to watch. The first half was the worst half of football I've seen. But they pressed really well, Newcastle, because obviously Arsenal are now trying to play out the back with a 40-year-old in goal. who apparently has never kicked a ball before. And you could, to be fair, you could even tell like the last 3 years at Arsenal from his goal kicks, he's not very good on the ball because, like, honestly, like half of them just go straight out. And but Newcastle, because I am going to indulge in Arsenal a little bit.
Yeah.
To start with Newcastle, I don't know how they do this again. Like last year, they had a championship squad and they won the championship with it. Brighton looked more of a Premier League team, players-wise.
Yep.
Now, I'd be shocked if they could do it again. Mike Ashley hasn't sold up yet.
No.
Like, I always look at West Ham and Newcastle and think, how are the fans miserable just all the time? You lot have a weirdly upward trajectory in spite of the first 4 games you had this season. You know, well, I don't know, like, until, I don't know, David Sullivan sells up or...
Yeah, but that's the thing. He's not going to sell up. He's going to just die and one of his bastard kids is going to get it.
Yeah. And, but yeah, Newcastle were just... I was about to talk about specific players there. I can't name any of them.
Jose Perez. Like,
he came on the pitch and, like, honestly, he looks like 15 different players who play for Newcastle. So, like, I had no idea who he was. Honestly, I couldn't tell you if he's a centre forward or not.
He's like a false 9.
Okay, yeah, whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so shall we move on to Arsenal? Because I'm desperate.
Okay, let's go. Let's talk about Arsenal. 3 wins, no draws, and 2 losses. So
our best performance this year was actually a loss against Chelsea, where we should have scored we had about 4 chances in the 6-yard box against Chelsea in the first half.
Yeah.
After we were 2-0 down. We only scored 2 of them. In fact, we probably had 5 clear-cut chances. We scored 2 of them. That was our best game this season. The last 3 games have been excruciatingly boring. We're trying to play out the back without a goalkeeper who can pass. Our centre-backs have actually started the season surprisingly well. They've got a lot of stick. Socrates has been objectively very good. He's surprisingly very quick as well. He just looks massive and slow, but I didn't know this. Apparently, he's got like he's always had one of like the fastest sprint speeds of a centre half in Europe. Yeah, on FIFA his pace is 79, and I know FIFA isn't a good metric to measure a player by.
But he's not slow.
Yeah, he's not slow, and like we were all worried he was going to be slow. Mustafi still looks, we're just headless. You know, he's a headless chicken. But with Socrates, who sort of bullies everyone on the pitch, and every time Mustafi makes a mistake, he again does the sort of Arnautovic-esque theatrics where it's like, oh my god, this guy is terrible. Yeah, and the fans really, really like him. And, you know, and again, we're trying to play out the back, and normally what teams do is they have their deepest midfielder drop in. We've got Xhaka. He can pass his way out, but if anyone ever presses him, he can't dribble his way out. And because we're not starting with Torreira on the pitch, who can dribble, we look a bit of a mess, basically, until he comes on. Whenever he comes on, we dramatically improve. It's almost, as I said earlier, it's almost like having a defensive midfielder is quite a good idea. Is
it a fitness thing, then? Why isn't he starting?
I presume it's a fitness thing. Because we do dramatically improve, and Emery has said, you know, we look a lot better with him on the pitch. The real worry, I think he'll be in the starting 11 within a matter of weeks. He'll either start on Thursday in Europa League, which I have a feeling they may have earmarked for him in advance as a time to first start, but I'd rather him start against Everton, because I know you just beat them. They got good goal scorers, and the only reason we got away with it against Newcastle is because they do not have good goal scorers. And, you know, I think the real worrying thing at the moment is Bernard Leno. He hasn't played a single minute. We spent 25 million on him. He's 26, but he's been a starting Bundesliga goalie since he was 18. He's got a lot of experience. I think the sort of narrative that's developing now is that Emery knows once Cech is dropped for this guy, there isn't really a way back for him. Even if Leno is awful, it just to drop him, Leno, and put in a goalkeeper who so obviously can't do what's expected of him, this modern style of football. It makes both goalies look bad, and you're better off sticking with the young guy who can pass, even if he's not a great shot stopper. Which Arsenal fans, we've found ourselves in a complete frenzy about, you know, we're like, oh my god, he must be terrible, and I'm like, no, calm down, this is a bit much. But I think as soon as Bernard Leno plays in the Europa League and we pass out the back better, I think Cech's out. But yeah, you know, there are still structural problems. Like in the first game, we pressed really well. Since then, we haven't really been pressing a lot. We've got this big conundrum with Ramsey, whose contract's running out, and Ozil, because we're not playing in 4-3-3. It means you have to put one of them out wide. Yeah. You can't play both of them either side in central midfield. You can maybe get away with one of them as part of a free. more likely Ramsey, but technically speaking, Ozil was a much better player than
Yeah.
Ramsey. He hasn't got the work ethic of Ramsey, but he is just a lot better. Ramsey had an excellent season last year, and Aubameyang has been weirdly ineffective. Wenger got a lot out of him on the left. Emery hasn't really, and it's weird feeling for Arsenal fans because every week is something dramatically new. Like under Wenger, we just knew what he was going to do long time before he did it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean specifically we knew what he was going to do. We just knew he'd do something really weird, like like he'd play Francis Coquelin, as like a centre half, and whenever we were losing a game, he'd bring on all of the strikers and take off all of the midfielders. So we'd do this formation, which is 4 defenders: Danny Welbeck, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Olivier Giroud. It was like it's like he thought. I mean, we have 4 strikers on the pitch, so we will score 4 goals. And I miss him.
Oh,
I miss him.
Big claim.
I miss him. No, like we now look like we're trying to play a modern style of football, but I do really, really miss the guy because when we played bad under Wenger, because he sort of let players, sort of do what they want. He left them to their own devices. Players like Aubameyang, who's now on the wing playing under instruction, it means he's not scoring because he has to do wingers' jobs because Emery's an actual, like coach. He loves, he's tactically. If a guy plays out wide, he won't just say to him, "Look, I know we're playing you out wide, but you're a goal scorer. Just do whatever you want. Wait around in the box." Wenger basically said that to him.
Yeah.
And last season he got I think 10 goals in 14 games. In the period he was in the Premier League, he started in first game in early February, I think.
Yeah.
I think he scored more goals even than Mohamed Salah. Everyone.
Yeah.
From
He
that
had the
point.
best goals per minute ratio.
Yeah, and now it's quite weird because Lacazette has been excellent. He looks a lot like Firmino, and Aubameyang. The only way you can really get him into the team and scoring goals under Emery is to play him as a centre forward, dropping Lacazette, and you then need sort of 2 creative wide players to supply him, and that means probably Iwobi and Mkhitaryan in place of probably Ramsey, and Lacazette. But
I think I've only watched Arsenal twice this season, and one of them obviously was against West Ham. When Iwobi came off for Lacazette, he's looked so much better.
Yeah.
Like it went from being like, West Ham are still in this. That game could have been like a 5 each draw.
I thought you were going to win in the first half. You were much better than us.
But when Lacazette came on, it kind of the momentum shifted to it's a matter of time before Arsenal score, or that's what it felt like anyway.
Because Iwobi, he's excellent at playing under instruction. He is actually a really big game player. Like whenever he plays against Chelsea or any top 6 team, he's really, really good. He's of that sort of player who you can't tell, is he a number 10, a winger, or like a sort of David Silva, De Bruyne-esque number 8, a guy who can dribble out of a press. He's looking more and more like a central midfielder. So he's played really well this season. Mkhitaryan and Bellerin the first 3 or 4 games this season looked absolutely terrifying. He'd got all of his attacking sort of abilities back, and he looked like one of the most threatening players in the league. I think by the second game, he'd created more chances than any player. Yeah. He'd actually made more tackles than anyone in the league by his second match. And, as soon as Mkhitaryan was dropped, we have no one else who plays with him. So Bellerin now, whenever he gets the ball, there is a 20-yard sort of almost like exclusion zone around him. Like he's a nuclear waste product and no one can get near him. Like he's much closer to the fans who are all homophobically abusing him, as he said in his interview the other week. But yeah, the change is nice. It's nice to see something different. I'm not as bored talking about Arsenal as I have been. But I think that pretty much sums me up on Arsenal, actually.
Okay, so we'll have our last break now, and when we come back, I think we should probably talk about Wolves because they've been one of the more interesting teams, and we'll sort of round up the rest of the teams then before we go to watch Liverpool at 8. So, back in a minute. Spurs have balled it.
They have. They're 2-1 down to Inter.
Whilst you were listening to the soothing sounds of Panic at the Disco, Spurs have conceded twice to Inter Milan.
Yeah, in the space of 4 minutes. This is they've got a couple of minutes to turn it round. I don't know how much time has been added on. 4 minutes of time have been added on, and it's 4 minutes in.
They're not turning it around.
Yeah, I mean, even a draw is bad. And Inter Milan have started the season in Serie A very badly. So, once again, Spurs managed to be the butt of every joke in football. Yeah,
they've been weird this season.
Have we talked about them?
No, we haven't. And they're up in 6th place, but somehow when you think of Spurs, you still think they've started the season quite badly, despite the fact they're level on points with United and Arsenal.
To be fair, United and Arsenal have started the season.
Yeah,
badly.
I know, but it's still like,
Yeah.
I mean, Watford and Bournemouth aren't gonna last the pace.
Yeah.
So when they fall off, that puts Spurs into fourth, which wouldn't be an awful season for them.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Spurs and United, Spurs didn't sign anyone. You
No.
know, and I know everyone. You get some people that have been trying to spin it. They've been like, "Oh, but they managed to keep hold of everyone." And I'm like, "Yeah, on the one hand, that is important, but renewing your squad is so important." Like I remember when Napoli sold Higuain. Like you have all these threats about Harry Kane leaving. What would happen to Tottenham? Napoli sold Higuain, but because they have a good coach, yeah, they brought in a guy who was a bit smaller, a bit quicker, a bit more technically skillful. He scored equally as many goals, but he brought in other players who scored more. So like Tottenham.
Yeah.
Like, if they sold Harry Kane and got probably 150 million for him in this market, 100 million at least, I think, or Ericsson or whoever, it's not like they've got a good enough coach that they're not going to, like, completely collapse. And there's this sort of fear of change at Tottenham that's like, Moussa Dembele, last season, people forget this, he was terrible until Christmas. He had a few good games after Christmas, and they were all televised games against the top six. To be fair to him, big game guy, he still turns up, but he was poor throughout the season. And he needed to go. They brought in Lucas Moura, who he actually said my favourite quote of the season. He said, "I blame my family genetics and Europe for me going bald." Yeah, yeah. Every other club was like buying players, and he was talking about male pattern baldness. And yeah, I blame my family and Europe. Europe's done terrible things to me, and he's been good. But like Tottenham. They just had such a weird start. We all thought Danny Rose was going. We all thought Alderweireld was going. We all thought Dembele was going. We all thought that would generate enough money for them to buy a few fresh faces. And it really hasn't at all.
But I mean, you've seen the kind of effect that it's had on their squad already. That result there tonight, lost 2-1 away from home, Champions League. But
give it a second. Oh yeah, they have lost now 2-1.
Alderweireld and Trippier didn't even travel to rest them because they don't have that, like a big enough squad to say like in the Premiership next week they can't afford to be missing Alderweireld and Trippier, so they have to miss the Champions League game.
Yeah, like Tottenham won those teams. What happens to them this year? If let's say Tottenham and Arsenal don't make it into the top six, Tottenham are then back on Arsenal's. They're back on the same level form wise, but then Arsenal still have the sort of historic, romantic ability to draw in players, and not getting into Europa League, not getting into the Champions League this season, it could really kill Tottenham. And Pochettino, he's making. I think he's an excellent manager, and I think if you gave him a better club with better resources, he'd be a title challenger. But he does make a lot of really odd decisions. Like he switches to a back three, which doesn't really work. Eric Dyer is,
he was really bad at the weekend.
Technically, he is not good enough for a top six team. He's not really a centre back. He's not a centre back, and he's not really quick enough, and he doesn't read the game well enough to be like a holding midfielder.
No.
Really, you want it. This sounds bad, but you want to give him that sort of mad dog Gattuso role. Like, no, you have like two guys who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like Gattuso was very quick.
Wild card.
Yeah, Dyer is not that quick, and he's not that. No one's scared of him. No one's
No.
like, oh my
yeah,
God,
he can shave his head all he wants.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like Tottenham. Honestly, I've never even hated Tottenham that much. Like I make jokes about them because Tottenham are funny, but like I've always hated United and Chelsea more. But I look at them now, and it's like I don't even think they're playing that good football at the moment. They're not an exciting attacking team. And there's apart from Ericsson, there's not really a lot of flair. Dele Alli's not a flair player. Harry Kane's not a flair player. Son, like to me, Son, Lucas Moura, and Harry Kane, and Ericsson is an exciting front four. You got one guy on the left, one guy on the right, centre forward. Ericsson at 10. They need to sort the two out. And Wanyama's not really playing a lot, and he wasn't playing a lot last season.
No,
I still think Wanyama and Harry Winks, if they want to take a young, risky approach, because Dembele, he doesn't play in the ordinary games, and people talk about players they can only be exceptional if they're big game players. 3/4 of the teams you play in a season are worse than you if you're in the top six.
Yeah,
and it's like Ozil. He gets a lot of stick for his top six performances. He is good 75% of the time. Statistics wise, that bears true. And Moussa Dembele, I think for a good year, possibly was the best central midfielder in the league. And he just had everything.
Getting on.
Yeah, he's like this season he was going to join. He was going to go to China for a bit, and this is what I mean. They can't even sell players. They couldn't sell Danny Rose when they wanted to sell him, and he's now made his way back into their team, which is good because he is 5 times a better player than Ben Davies. They got Dembele, and you look at all the players there who had a good World Cup. No one really went in for them.
But it's
Trippier, no one went in for him, and Lloris his form has dropped a lot. I don't think he's been one of the best keepers in the league for about 18 months now.
No. And now he has to get a lift a game, so it's just going to be much worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think he should be captain, by the way?
I don't think that affects it.
I think it should.
It's not a good example, but like, if
Tony
he's still
Adams
the
went to
leader
prison
in the
for
dressing
same
room,
thing.
if he's still the leader in the dressing room, and it's not as if it's like, I'm going to sound really bad, like it's not as if he's doing it all the time, but
yeah,
once is enough. But if it's not having any bearing on the way the players respect him, and if it's not having any bearing on his footballing ability, it shouldn't really matter.
What about Marcus Alonso?
Yeah, well, Marcus
luckily
Alonso's
for him,
different.
he's not the captain.
No.
Yeah.
Luckily for him, he's not in jail.
yeah, very luckily. Yeah.
So the last one we could talk about, I guess we just give them a quick mention. Burnley haven't won a game, bottom of the league.
I mean,
from the glory of the Europa League.
Yeah. They are, again, Burnley are one of those teams, like, very, very boring. I do sort of admire Sean Dyche, but they've got to learn a new way. And I think they will, like, reset. They'll find their feet again. Getting knocked out of the Europa League was probably a blessing, but it's messed up their preseason.
Yeah.
And they're going to need... They only have one style of playing, and it's hard to... I don't even think they're going to concede a lot. Have they conceded a lot? They've conceded... Oh, wow.
-7 goal difference. So the
conceded
second worst in the league. Only Huddersfield have a worse goal difference.
I mean, if you can't do your biggest strength, defending, then what are you? It's like Arsenal last year at a period where we couldn't score. And it's like, okay, if Arsenal can't score or pass, what is the point? Burnley, they could sink. They could really sink, if he doesn't turn it around. And, yeah, they started the season. They were just completely... They've been terrible. They've been completely terrible. And, again, there's not a single flair player in that squad.
No.
Like, there is not one.
Whoa, Jeff Hendrick?
I mean, Joe Hart. He is a flair player.
Yeah, Joe Hart is a flair player in that he puts fans on the edge of their seat, puts hearts in their mouth.
Yeah.
It shows you how busy the Premiership has been and how much there's been to talk about, that we've 55 minutes into the show. We're going to have to wrap it up soon so we can get to the pub for kick-off.
Yeah.
And I haven't even talked about the fact that Roy Keane's picking fights with the Ireland squad and that Declan Rice might be English now.
Yeah, I know. I told you a few months ago.
You did. You called this.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I mean, I'm holding out hope because he still hasn't officially announced, and sort of like, I hate using this like a Reddit term, but like tier 1 sources are suggesting he's going to pick Ireland.
Yeah.
Which is good, but I mean, it's still not good that he was in this position in the first place.
I mean, a lot of it depends on how... Bear in mind, though, England's worst position on the pitch is where he's now playing to quite a high level, according to you. Like defensive midfield. England's defensive midfield is terrible.
He's 18, 19.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think if
there's 2 international breaks before Christmas. So, if he gets called up for England, does he say no? After England's World Cup, where the only thing that was really missing from the starting 11 was a holding midfielder and possibly like a playmaker. But when this opportunity is wide open to be the central figure for England, and he was born in England.
Yeah.
And, I'm with you though. Like, the Irish FA have said now, like, unless they commit to us at a young age, and there's no like, see, they're not going to take them on.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but like, he could do a job for England, and I'd be surprised if he actually turned it down.
See, that's the thing that is kind of making me not dislike him that much, in that, like, when Jack Grealish turned down Ireland, he had no chance of getting the England team. Like, even now, he's like being linked with Spurs and stuff. He's not getting the England team anytime soon.
No.
Declan Rice could be in the England team within the next year.
Yeah.
Which makes it harder to dislike him for.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it is the logical choice, considering what train wreck Ireland are. Like, playing for a better team on the up. Don't have Roy Keane like physically calling you out at training sessions. Like he apparently does.
I daydream a lot about if I were a footballer. No, and like what would my decision be? Like if you asked me when I was like 11 or 12, I had these like pretensions of Irishness.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, I'd definitely play for Ireland. And I really got behind the whole Trapattoni era where it's like, we are not going to concede a goal. And like they didn't for like 3 years basically.
Yeah.
And like Martin O'Neill's now done this sort of world-class manager Giovanni Trapattoni version of what he did, and it's so boring.
It's awful.
And like honestly, if I went to like the Irish FA and I like sat down with like Roy Keane and Martin O'Neill, and like they're just talking like this sort of late 90s style of football. I say late 90s, just the 90s, 80s. It's old school football, and you look at the players you're playing with. Like, what I was always interested in at youth level, how is football taught in Ireland? Is it similar to the English model? which is technique isn't really that favoured. Because you look at a small country like Ireland, like I think a lot of small countries like Scotland, Ireland, Wales, they use the size of the country as a massive excuse, which is fair. But like you look at countries like Uruguay, Croatia, tiny, tiny countries, and I know they've got a historic football tradition, and there's no like major competing sport in rugby. But you think like technical ability. Even 10 years ago, Ireland had Damien Duff. You know, they had Robbie Keane.
But I mean, the thing with Ireland is that football isn't even the first choice sport.
No.
For the majority of the country, especially in the south of Ireland, football's maybe third choice sport after Gaelic and hurling.
Yeah.
So you lose a lot of youngsters to that, and they're a very good physical team. Ireland always have really good physical players, but it's just technical ability.
Yeah.
Kind of lets us down a lot. And having no Robbie Keane has also been a big hit because Shane Long is an awful finisher, and then after that you're like Sean Maguire at Preston or something. Like
you could do like an old school thing and put up like a centre half, a centre forward.
Dion Dublin style. He used to play both positions.
Yeah.
I think that's going to have to do is because if we talk any more about Roy Keane and Ireland, I'm going to get annoyed. Did you hear the WhatsApp thing from Stephen Ward?
I did. I was listening to it. It's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
There's one thing before the show ends that I just want to ask people.
Okay. Can
you remember Sean St. Ledger? What was his deal?
Sean St. Ledger.
What was his deal? Like, what was that name? Like, what? Like, every time I saw it, I was like, "There's no way this is a real football. He's having like he's joking."
Yeah, I mean, even his career trajectory is very like FIFA career mode, like Coventry to the MLS.
Yeah.
It's a bit crazy.
Yeah.
So that'll finish us for this week. We're very glad to be back, and it'll become a bit more normal. This was kind of a round everything up and also go on tangents week, but it'll become a bit more like the weekly show that we kind of had last year.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, see you.